just concluded the 8th ministerial meeting of the strategic dialogue between Russia and the Gulf Cooperation Council. That was traditionally held in a constructive, business-like and frank atmosphere. This dialogue started in 2011, and today it has confirmed once again that it is a useful platform for foreign political coordination between Russia and the 6 Gulf nations. We had a detailed discussion of the entire range of our bilateral issues, including our trade and humanitarian ties, acknowledging the significant increase in energy, agriculture, transport, healthcare, tourism, and banking cooperation. Welcoming the further growth of trade turnover. Since 2011, when the dialogue started, our trade grew more than 7-fold. There's also a positive trend in investment from Gulf countries into Russian economy. Their accumulated amount is now over $26 billion, and it's great to see that Russian investments are also flowing into Gulf states. We have agreed to reinforce the positive trends that we're now observing, making use of all the opportunities that we have, including the intergovernmental commissions that we have with every one of these 6 countries, and through councils. We also agreed to keep up the momentum and in the preparations for the next meeting of the strategic dialogue. At the invitation of the Secretary General, we will form a working group that will start working on concrete initiatives for the next dialogue round. We have reaffirmed once again the importance of close coordination in the OPEC Plus format and the gas exporters forum. We are all interested in maintaining the stability of the global oil and gas markets and protecting the legitimate interests of oil and gas exporters. We also had a substantive discussion on the regional agenda, reaffirming the close approaches that we have to resolving the crisis situations in the Middle East and beyond, including the relevance of the foundational principles of the UN Charter. And we believe that this is the only way to resolve any of the conflicts that persist in the region and in other parts of the globe on a sustainable basis. We placed special emphasis on resolving the central Palestinian problem. We are deeply concerned by the escalation that we saw on the 9th of September when Israel made a strike on Doha. We condemn this action by Israel. It is unacceptable to carry out any such actions against sovereign countries. This attack against a country which is a key mediator in the indirect talks between Israel and Hamas and an intermediary in ceasefire negotiations will harm the search for peaceful resolutions. We note the lack of logic in Israel's actions. It is absurd to demand that Hamas fulfill its conditions for a ceasefire, while at the same time trying to destroy the negotiating team engaged in the process. All of these actions took place despite the United States, which is a close ally of Israel, making it clear many times that it is interested in seeing the success of Israel-Hamas negotiations. In this regard, we adopted a joint statement that will be disseminated among the media and will be further publicized on all the relevant platforms. We reaffirmed our principled position that achieving a comprehensive and lasting settlement for the Israel-Palestine conflict is only possible based on international law, based on the two-states principle. Otherwise, as we believe, there will be no peace in the Middle East. And this situation, with the gross violation of the Palestinian people's rights, will only fuel extremist tendencies in all countries of the region. We intend to maintain our close cooperation with our partners regarding the Middle East in every aspect, and this situation is not limited to Palestine. We also discussed Syria, Yemen, Lebanon, Sudan, Yemen, and we are all of the opinion that we must continue consolidated efforts to work out compromise political solutions to address the crises based on consideration of all of the parties' interests and based on the relevant Security Council resolutions. We discussed the situation in the Gulf. We are interested in the initiatives discussed in the Gulf Cooperation Council, including normalizing relations with Iran. We are ready to support these efforts as far as the parties are interested. And we also reminded about Russia's position about collective security for the Gulf countries, which was discussed several years ago, and with the foreign ministry participation, with the experts. We are ready to cooperate with the regional and extra-regional actors to develop approaches to ensure stability in the region, while understanding that the key role in this regard must be played by the countries in the region. Russia believes that peace and cooperation in the Gulf will be the best fit for the Eurasian security architecture proposed by President Putin, an architecture that would be based on the indivisible security of all of the countries of our great Eurasian continent. On September the 15th, there will be the first Russian-Arab summit. And we are happy that most Gulf Cooperation Council states have already accepted their invitations to this event. And we believe that today's meeting is a key step in the preparations for the summit. We also discussed the situation in Ukraine, sharing our assessment of the recent events, including in light of the Russian-US talks held in Alaska recently. We have recognized, and we are still seeing the desire by the United States to get down to the root causes of the conflict and to find an approach that will truly address the current situation, with the attempts to drag Ukraine into the North Atlantic Alliance, including by organizing a coup d'etat in February 2014, as well as attempts by the Kiev regime to ban all things Russian, undermining the legitimate rights of a vast number of people who live in Crimea, the Donbass and Novorossiya, in violation of the United Nations Charter, which requires the rights of all people be respected regardless of their religion, gender or language. This is something that has been legislatively violated by the Kiev regime. There is no other country in the world banning a language. Hebrew language is allowed in the Arab states, and Israel does not ban the Arabic language. So we see that the Kiev regime decided to be the most outstanding perpetrator of this kind of violation. We value the balanced position taken by Council states, and we appreciate the efforts made by these states to promote the resolution of the humanitarian problems that arise during the Ukrainian crisis, including the assistance to reunite children with their families. In conclusion, I'm grateful to our partners for this joint work. I hope that there will be time for you to see the beautiful city of Sochi, and I'm sure that we will continue our close work as part of our partnership, including in the preparation for the next round of our strategic dialogue to be held next year in one of the GCC countries. Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Chair of the Council, Foreign Minister of Kuwait, please. First of all, I'd like to voice my gratitude to the media for their presence and their coverage of the event.
This is the 8th session of the Strategic Council of the Strategic Dialogue between GCC and Russia. It's taking place in the city of Sochi in a very friendly environment. We are grateful to Minister Sergei Lavrov, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the friendly Russian Federation, for the warm welcome, for hospitality, for his constructive role in strengthening historic ties and cooperation between our countries. And we are also grateful to the heads of delegations of the GCC member states for their contribution in accomplishing positive results of today's meeting. And this meeting has become an important milestone on the path to strengthening of the strategic dialogue that was established in 2011. It reaffirms our common eagerness to strengthen bilateral partnership. We discussed avenues of cooperation in the economy and investment, expanding cooperation in other strategic areas, and we have also prioritized the Palestinian issue, and we are grateful. We appreciate the position of the friendly Russian Federation in support of legitimate rights of the Palestinian people, and we have also reaffirmed the need and the importance to adhere to all the international obligations in relations with Kuwait to strengthen its sovereignty and to boost the relations, good neighborly relations. And I would like to give the floor to the Secretary General of the Gulf Cooperation Council. Thank you very much, Minister Lavrov, for today's meeting. And this is true, Your Excellency. You maintain great relations with all the ministers, with all the heads of delegations, with all the partners in the Gulf countries. And of course, our meetings are always positive. And before we sum up the outcomes of today's meeting, I would like to mention what we agreed upon with other ministers regarding the special communique in regards of the aggression of the military strike perpetrated by Israel against Qatar, and that statement was agreed upon by the heads of delegations, and there are a number of elements in this joint statement, and it will be distributed to the media representatives. But the most important thing is that we ministers, we categorically condemn that criminal act perpetrated by Israel against Qatar, and we would like to reaffirm that this action is the blatant violation of international law, of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Qatar. And in this statement, we call upon the international community to fulfill its role and to call Israel, to hold Israel accountable for what it did. And this violation is a threat to peace and security in the region, and we hope that this statement will be distributed among you after the press conference. There is no doubt that relations between Russia and the GCC member states are strong, and we continue to develop these ties. And these relations started back in 2011 when we held the first strategic dialogue session. And thank God today we continue with this effort, and heads of delegations today cited examples of how the cooperation between their countries and Russia expanded in the field of trade, economy, energy, tourism, and we hope that the joint plan of action that was adopted in 2023 and it will be operational until 2028. We are going to send an expert team of the Secretariat of the GCC this autumn, in October or in November, for the expert consultations and to discuss possible ways to implement various projects to make sure that our efforts are truly fruitful for the peoples of our countries. We also discussed in detail the crisis in the Gaza Strip. We also spoke of the violations allowed by the Israeli authorities, and we spoke about the need, about the importance of the role that is played by the international community in this regard, and it is also important to open all the checkpoints to deliver the humanitarian relief. As for the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, we reaffirm the need to put an end to this crisis via the dialogue with diplomatic means, and we support any initiative aimed at the settlement of this crisis. And GCC member states act as intermediaries, and we are proud of these efforts. We are proud of the support that UAE and Qatar are providing to the conflict parties. And we also reaffirm our desire to strengthen peace and security in the world, and strengthening ties with the Russian Federation will facilitate this effort. And once again, I would like to express our gratitude to Minister Lavrov for this important session, and I hope that the next session will take place soon. Now we are ready to take questions. Al Arabi TV channel. I've got two questions. The first question for Minister Lavrov. Your Excellency, following the Israeli strike on the Hamas office in Doha, what is Russia's position regarding the security of the Persian Gulf states? And does Moscow see an opportunity to use the strategic dialogue format with the Cooperation Council as a platform for promoting initiatives on Palestinian-Israeli settlement? And is this settlement possible because of the actions taken by Israel?
I will first answer your first question. Certainly, we view the strategic dialogue as a platform not only for an exchange of views, but also as a platform for elaborating joint approaches for actions, including at the United Nations, the League of Arab States, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation in order to take the process out of a deadlock and to try and pull it off from the brink of the abyss where it is currently standing. Now, the position currently promoted by Israel, that no Palestinian state is needed, that Palestinians must be resettled, and after this ethnic cleansing is complete, the Gaza Strip will be controlled by Israel. Now, this position is very dangerous, and it's very likely that it will be promoted. When we had an exchange in the closed format today, we saw that everyone agrees that the root causes of the problems in the Middle East is the outstanding Palestinian problem, because for over 80 years there has been a no Palestinian state, even though it was mandated by the General Assembly in conjunction with the creation of the State of Israel. And if you look at the map of the time when the General Assembly resolution was adopted, there was a lot of change since then. By 1967, there had already been many changes. And if you look at the map today, not only Gaza but also the West Bank, there were unprecedented decisions by the Netanyahu government to establish new settlements at a scale that was never seen before. So those spots that used to be just spots in the West Bank, now they're merging and coalescing into a great mass. And I've heard that there are plans to establish 1 or 2 Palestinian municipalities in the West Bank instead of a state. Those are very concerning trends that are on the rise, and we discussed this with our American colleagues during our conversations, saying time and again that there can be no solution without addressing the root cause, that the promise by the United Nations that Palestinians would get a state so that they can live in their own state. So unless this promise is made true, there will only be a growing trend of extremist sentiments in the Middle East. And one of the problems is also seen in Ukraine, where we're seeing Ukraine being dragged into NATO, the creation of threats to Russian security. And the root causes, once again, are a lack of respect for the rights of people who want to live in the lands where their ancestors have lived, just as they have lived until now. People in Ukraine were banned from speaking Ukrainian language. They were banned from having Russian language media. And the most recent action by the Kiev regime was banning the Russian Orthodox Church. It's a situation that we saw in Crimea, in the Donbass and Novorossiya. The government, which does not represent the interests of those citizens, tried to dictate how they would live, but it does not work this way. The UN Charter says that you must respect people's rights to language and religion, and it certainly must be taken into account. So once again, our friends understand our position, and our approach is recognized by the majority of our counterparts from the global majority countries, and we also note that the United States have an understanding that the way forward is not arming Ukraine and trying to pit it against Russia, fueling the fire, but rather addressing the primary causes of this conflict. And it is on this basis that we're going to develop our dialogue with the United States and all of our partners who are willing to look for constructive solutions. And as to the attack on the Hamas office in Doha, we already mentioned that this is completely unacceptable. In addition to all the geopolitical aspects of it, and in addition to the practical consequences, including creating insurmountable, perhaps, obstacles for a resolution of the situation with the hostages and the hostilities, this situation also created danger for civilians in Doha. By the way, the building that was attacked and destroyed is located in a district where there are about 10 foreign embassies. And there is also a road nearby that is regularly used by the diplomatic officers from our embassy. There's a gas station nearby that is very close. So this is a day when we saw once again that this format for cooperation, the cooperation between Russia and the GCC, is very useful and very promising, and that it will allow us to arrive at better practical solutions at the United Nations and in other international organizations.
And my second question, if I may, in Arabic. So my second question to Kuwaiti Foreign Minister and Secretary General, to both of them. You were speaking about developing relations between GCC and Russia, but in light of recent events in Doha, how does the Cooperation Council balance its partnership with Russia in energy and investment on one hand with the demands of regional security and interaction with Western Israeli positions on the other? Do you consider Moscow a partner that can help mitigate and resolution of regional crisis? Thank you very much for your question. I would like to start by saying that our cooperation with Russia continues across the board. We are open for partnership with the other countries as well. Of course, Russia is one of our main closest partners, and these recent developments do not affect our relations with the Russian Federation. We continue with our joint efforts, and our cooperation can only enhance Russia's role in the region, and we discussed it with Minister Lavrov. We discussed our cooperation in the field of security and in the other fields as well. It will only strengthen Russia's role in the region. Yeah, thank you very much. There is no doubt that the main objective of the partnership between the Cooperation Council and various countries and regional organizations and with the Russian Federation as well. The objective of these formats is to facilitate peace and stability in the region. Our strategic dialogue formats are aimed at this. And in this regard, we really rely on the big role, on the great role that the Russian Federation plays in the region and in the world to help stabilize the situation in the region and globally as well. There is no doubt that we will continue our cooperation with the Russian Federation. We will spare no effort for this to resolve the Palestinian-Israeli conflict as well, to put an end to the Israeli aggression. And also we will continue to cooperate on the other dossiers of mutual interest. RT, TV channel, Mohammed Hassab from RT Arabic. I've got two questions to the Secretary General and to Kuwaiti Foreign Minister. So here's my first question. There is information about an upcoming exclusive Arab-Islamic summit in Qatar, which will be dedicated to discussing the latest Israeli aggression towards Doha. What decisions are planned to be made at this summit? Has the time come for serious and decisive actions aimed at stopping illegitimate Israeli actions in the region? And we also saw what Israel is doing in Lebanon, in Syria, which has been going on for quite a while. Something needs to be done about this. So you deal with the government where the Prime Minister does not pay any attention whatsoever to international law, to any legitimacy. He is not concerned with any of this. And today, our brothers from Qatar said that there will be this exclusive summit at the foreign ministries level, which will be followed by the Arab summit, where this issue will be discussed as well, to condemn legitimate actions by the Israeli. At these summits, we are going to discuss the situation in Gaza as well. And we are going to criticize the actions of Israel in Qatar in particular, because currently we require serious partners who consider the Middle Eastern region as their partners, where they can help attain peace. But at the same time, we need to put an end to these barbaric methods and practices of Israel. Your Excellency, Minister, do the GCC countries see the importance of strengthening strategic partnership with Russia in light of recent changes in the region and the world? Can you give any comments on this? And what are the strategic areas for cooperation with the Russian Federation? We exchange official visits bilaterally, and also we carry out visits regularly. This year and previous years, we have accomplished a lot. On October 15th, there is going to be the first Russian-Arabic summit, which is going to be an important milestone in Russian-Arab cooperation. And it is also important for developing relations between Russia and the Persian Gulf countries, because the majority of the Gulf countries have already visited Russia or are going to visit Russia, and they all share the opinion that for the region it is useful to develop ties with the Russian Federation. And I believe that Russia-GCC summit is going to take place because it is also a promising area of our cooperation, and we see Russia as our close friend. And a final question, please. Sputnik Agency. Sputnik Agency, I would like to ask a question to Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov about the Russia-Arab summit that is going to take place in October in Moscow. Did you discuss the preparations for this summit and how important this summit is for us?
We certainly discussed this event that will be held in just over a month. And as I've mentioned, almost all of our colleagues from GCC states confirmed their participation. And there is also experts working on the final declaration, the plan of action between Russia and the Gulf states until 2028. And in order to finalize those important documents, there will be a meeting on October the 13th between Gulf foreign ministers and the Russian Federation, and we will report on the outcomes of that meeting to our heads of state for a final approval. And of course, speaking about what happened in Doha the day before yesterday and everything that is to follow after this act of aggression, including the relevant Security Council, a meeting that will be convened today in the LAS and OIC summits, and all the relevant steps of the international community. All of that will be included in the preparations for the summit and will result in proposals to be presented to our president and leaders of the 6 Arabian states, because the situation with the strikes on Doha will have negative consequences for the entire region. Thank you.
My second question for the Kuwaiti Foreign Minister, Al-Yahya. You said that there is a possibility of Russia Gulf countries summit. And what is the role of Russia in light of that dangerous escalation that is happening across the Middle East, not only in the Gulf region? I have already mentioned that there is a possibility of having such a summit, considering the level of relations between Russia and the Gulf countries. So there is this possibility. I'm not ruling out this possibility. Now we are looking forward to the Arab Gulf countries summit that is going to take place in Doha. Then we are going to have a week, high-level week at the UN, and which will be followed by some more steps. So we will continue our joint effort on implementing, on carrying out the joint resolutions. Thank you. The press conference is over.